Coming up on MHS1,
We look into the opinions of students on the increased lunchtime.
we learn about painting senior spots,
And we get cooking with Mr. Bennett.
and that's all coming up on MHS1.
Good morning, McKinney High School. It's January 22nd. I'm Devin Fields.
And I'm Brandon Fangio, and you're watching MHS1.
After a petition with over 1,200 signatures, senior parking spots are back. Here's Brandon Fangio and Johnny Hobart with the story.
After more than a decade of tradition, the class of 2017 might be the last to paint their senior spots.
My reasoning was based on the fact that I don't know if we did a good job from the administrative standpoint of managing the type of paint that students were using and then providing opportunities to touch it up, because it started to look pretty poor after a couple weeks. And as we look at a potential bond this spring, we don't want anything to take away from the aesthetics of our campus.
Kind of confused because I didn't understand the purpose. I didn't see the harm in the tradition or like any reason that it would need to be removed. But then whenever it was explained to me, like the reasoning and what people had said, I kind of understood more why he had to make that decision.
My next step that I plan to do is next week reach out to juniors and their parents and ask who wants to help me kind of determine what our next step should be on how we maintain the spots and things like stripping and starting all over. They can help me look at that, and then we can look at the cost, because another thing I'd like to do through this revisiting of our traditions is try to make this a little more cost effective. One thing I'll say is that I didn't need a petition to know how students and their parents felt about the senior spots. I mean, I definitely hear students. A petition is just another vehicle, but just walking through the halls and engaging with students on a daily basis kind of gave me a pretty good gauge on what everybody thought of my decision and then the impact that it had on them. I think if they do a great job, I don't see any reason why this tradition can't go on, because I know it's near and dear to McKinney High School, not only current students, but also alumni and parents.
I think it's great. I wouldn't want to not have one.
This has been Brandon Fangio and Johnny Hobart reporting for MHS1.
Lunchtime has increased this semester. Many students have opinions on the negative effects and positive benefits of this change. Here's Aruj Qureshi, Chelsea Villarreal, and Devin Field with more.
This semester, students have experienced a decrease in class time and an increase in lunchtime because of a new policy put in place by Mr. Butler.
When you start looking at the number of kids trying to get through, for example, C and E lunch, those lunches were rather large, and that 25 minutes we were giving you guys really was only 20, because that was including the 5-minute passing period. And I just didn't feel like that was enough time for kids to eat and unwind and socialize. And if you have a short lunch and you don't get through the line in a timely fashion, I think it impacts learning, because kids go back unhappy that their lunch was wasted standing in line.
Students have found this policy to have a positive effect.
My opinion on the lunches being longer, well, I'm in football, so our lunches are already short, and lunches being longer gives me more time to eat food.
Less class time and more lunch time is like the best thing I could ever ask for, because I like eating, but I like taking my time and like really enjoying my food.
If you had to buy your food, you had even less time. Sometimes you wouldn't even be able to sit down and start before lunch would already be over, and you'd have to bring the food into class and try to finish it, only if the teacher would let you though.
Really, my opinion on extending lunchtime, I think it's good, especially for basketball players, because whenever we get out of practice, we don't really have time to go eat and stuff, because we have to change and we have to come in here.
This has been Aruj Qureshi, Chelsea Villarreal, and Devin Field reporting for MHS1.
Now here's Allison Duran with sports.
Thanks, Brandon. The McKinney High basketball teams traveled to Wiley this Tuesday, coming home with victories for both the boys and girls. Both teams are set to play the Denison Yellow Jackets tonight. The girls will start at 6:15 and the boys is set for 7:30. Your MHS swim team is competing in their district swim meet tonight in Carrollton at 5. Come out and support both your girls and boys basketball team and your MHS swim team. That's all for sports, now back to you.
Thanks, Allison. Have you heard of the hottest restaurant in town? It's called Le Bennett.
Yeah, we went there last week. Here's Riley Mulligan, Maddie Cox, and Allison Duran with the dish.
Hi, I'm Mr. Bennett, and today we're going to make homemade tomato soup and homemade grilled cheese. And I'm just going to put out there, because we got to get started on everything, my ingredients. Got to use good quality tomato. I use 1 can of San Marzano tomatoes. That is one. And what I'm doing right now, I'm straining those tomatoes right now. I'll show you what I'm gonna do. Sometimes I use cherry tomatoes. These were tomatoes that were on the vine. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with those. And I use 2 Roma tomatoes as my tomato. I'm gonna use 3 carrots, 4 ribs of celery, a little bit of garlic, and some onion. And I'll show you what I'm gonna do. But first of all, we need to get the tomatoes in the oven, and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do when we do that. So. Cut my tomatoes. What I'm gonna do is I have strained the can of tomatoes. There's still a little bit of leftover juice. I'm gonna use that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all this on a baking sheet. We're gonna put this in the oven for about 20 minutes or so. As this is going, I'm going to start chopping up my vegetables that are going to go into my sauce. All right, I've chopped all the veg, and what I'm gonna do is I am going to saute it, and I've done some olive oil, and I've done a little bit of butter. And so I'm heating this up. I've already started to heat it up, and I'm just gonna let the butter melt a little bit, and then I'm gonna start to saute these, and I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper, a little bit of crushed red pepper, and that's about it. I'm gonna do the bay leaf later. Bay leaves gives it a little bit of flavor. Tomatoes out. I'm gonna add all the tomatoes and the oil and all the juices to this pot. Feeding one McKinney High student at a time.
The new physics teachers battled it out on a game show questioning their knowledge of the subject. Here's Kay Williams, Peyton Barnes, Haley Logston, and Sydney Turnbow with the scores.
Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. Hello, my name's Sydney Turnbow, and I'm your host for this new show called New Teacher Showdown. Today we have 2 additions to the MHS staff who will be competing in a nail-biting competition.
On the left side, we have Mrs. Hurst weighing in at 3,006 tablespoons. On her free time, she likes to dress up little chickens and donate used toenail clippings to the homeless. On the right side, we have Mr. Vickers, formerly known as a stallion. He dances every night with his Beanie Babies, except for Tuesdays. Those are his taco nights.
The contestants will be asked a series of 4 challenging questions to test their knowledge in physics. Are you absolutely ready?
Yes.
Completely?
Totally.
You know you're gonna do well?
Pretty well, yeah.
You feel good?
Very good.
Awesome.
Alrighty, then let's move on to our first challenging question. What kind of energy does a boulder at the edge of a cliff represent?
Potential.
Correct. Question 2. Which law of physics makes a perpetual motion machine impossible?
The first and second law of thermodynamics.
Correct again. Alrighty, are you gonna make a comeback today?
I think so.
You think so? Alrighty, well here's question number 3. What is the speed of light? Yes.
2.998 times 10 to the 8th meters per second.
Correct. And now we shall move on.
I win!
You win?
I win!
But there's 4 questions.
What?
There's more. Alrighty, so here's the last question. And whenever you get it correctly, whoever does must make a full lap around the room and make it right back to here. Are you ready?
That's not fair.
How is it not fair?
Well, he doesn't have heels on.
Yeah, but...
I have my flash shoes on.
Yeah, he's got flash shoes on. Alrighty. What is the unit of work?
Joule.
And the winner is Mr. Vickers.
I knew these flash shoes would work.
Alrighty. Are you so excited about your win today?
Very excited. Where's my prize?
That's all we have for you today, guys. Tune in next week for New Teacher Showdown, if we have more teachers. See you next time.
The aviation program here at MHS has recently started building a kit airplane.
Here's Isaac Whitaker, Philip Went, and Alex Moltz with a bird's eye view.
Here at the McKinney Airport, the aviation class is building a plane from scratch. Piece by piece, they've been working on it since October, and they've been making significant progress.
The class is currently working on Eagle's Nest project number 14. It's actually the 14th in the nation, but the first from McKinney ISD. They're building an RV-12 airplane. We got the kit originally a few months ago, and we took a lot of time to get the students ready to build on the airplane without touching the kit by practicing using the tools and such on various scrap pieces. But actual build time on the airplane, we've probably been building for about 2 weeks solid, which means, what is that, 10 days? About 10 days. The hangars where we actually have a classroom. We have classroom space in the hangar. We also have a build section of the classroom, which is right over there.
With the Eagle's Nest, one of the things they do is like their first flight, and that allows you to get like a free flight just for the fun of it, and it kind of teaches you the basics. But this is, they do a project where they'll donate a plane, a kit, to a class of amount of kids, and we'll build it. We all kind of have a shared role. We're all just kind of filling in where we can, knocking out what parts are available to put on right now and what needs to be done. Our plan is to fly it up to Oshkosh after school gets out in the summertime and premiere it at their air show. It hasn't been done yet here in McKinney. This will be actually the first time we've done anything like this, and we'll be able to fly it afterwards, so it'll be a lot of fun.
I ran into a lot of the youngsters with the Eagle's Nest project at Sun and Fun, which is it's an aviation event. It's a huge fly-in air show event. Lasts about a week. It's down in Florida every year, about March and April, somewhere around those dates. And a bunch of kids, because of my television show, Airplane Repo, a bunch of kids come running up to me and ask if I'd take a picture with them. I said, yeah, I'd be happy to. And I noticed they were all wearing the same kind of shirts, so I asked them what their affiliation was, what their organization was about, and they said, well, come on, let's show you. And they took me over and showed me. They were all high school kids, and there at Sun and Fun, they had 6 airplanes that these kids had built. These were actually kids that actually built an airplane, and as you can see here, the kids are building this airplane here. We're here as mentors to supervise and verify what they're doing and making sure they do it right, obviously, but at the same time provide them a little leadership and guidance in trying to do it. You know, I call aviation a disease, and I don't think there's any known cure for it. But once you've got that bug, you really do have that bug, and you're hooked with it.
This has been Alex Moltz, Philip Wynn, and Isaac Whitaker reporting for MHS1.
What did I just watch, you may be wondering? Well, come find out at Once Upon a Mattress, the new play from theater, starting January 28th to 30th every night at 7 p.m., with a matinee January 30th at 2 p.m.
Are pennies truly necessary in today's economy? Kyle McKelvey answers this question with his story.
This is the transfer engraving machine, which reproduces mechanically the design of a large model on a small master die in steel. The sensitive pointer follows the raised figure of the coin to be copied. This is reproduced by the small cutter, which carves out the design as it travels in endless concentric circles.
Although pennies lose their value every year, the U.S. government keeps producing them. According to the U.S. Mint, pennies cost 1.7 cents to make. So why do they continue to produce them?
We use the penny, or we keep making the penny, because a couple of reasons. One, it hasn't really hurt our economy yet, because the cost of making quarters and dimes, we still make profit off of that. So we're still profiting about $250 million depending upon the cost of the metals. So the loss we take from nickels and pennies is absorbed in the profits of dimes and quarters. So it hasn't become a crisis yet.
I get a penny, I pretty much just leave it where I found it, or I just give it away, give it to someone else.
I pretty much just throw it away or don't even care about it.
I don't really see any reason why we should have the penny. As fast as we're moving to electronic payments anyways, the penny is definitely outdated. It wouldn't cost retailers anything to change prices. It wouldn't affect them at all. It really just affects the metal companies, and it really just affects those vending machine people like that. And unfortunately, it's a cost of business they're just gonna have to deal with. We're wasting, between the nickel and the penny, about $100 million a year, which I know in the $1 trillion deficit doesn't seem like a lot, but every little bit helps. And so they should, just stand up and be active, voice what they know is wrong.
If pennies are taken out of circulation, their value and collector's worth could go up. But for now, they're sticking around. So remember, count your pennies. This is Kyle McKelvey reporting for MHS1.
No. Okay, that's really funny.
Kids. I'm gonna start slapping kids. Get hands. I'm gonna get. Oh, wow.
What am I doing? You. Stop. Yeah.
That's all we have for you today. Follow us on Twitter at Mainstream News. And remember,
If it's news,
and it's at McKinney High School, it's MHS1.